introduce you to Fylom and its quest for zero code. We will give you some context first. Then we will walk you through the system, as it is now. Fylom is a software development project where we blend experience with audacity. The result is a zero-code platform destined to become a leader in the low-code domain. Low-code is a visual approach to software development. The graphical user interface of a low-code platform automates the development process. This limits the need to code from the ground up. Low-code's roots do go back to the fourth-generation languages of the 1990s. Also to the rapid application development tools of the early 2000s. There are similarities between low-code and rapid application development. They both use the principles of model-driven design and visual programming. They both do code generation. The difference is the web APIs that are available in today's web-based environment. These APIs did not exist back then. Today we have a wealth of plugins and interfaces to choose from. One could say that low-code is fourth-generation language catching up with web technology.
What does the low-code market look like?
The industry analyst Forrester Research first coined the term in 2014. In 2017, Forbes magazine described it as extraordinarily disruptive. Gartner is a technological research and consulting firm. According to them, the worldwide low-code market was projected to total $13.8 billion in 2021. 65% of application development will involve low-code platforms by 2024. Some of the players in this field are OutSystems, Webflow, QuickBase, Mendix Platform, Bubble, and several others.
How does your product fit in?
We are aiming at the zero-code arena. Our approach strives to avoid code and process definitions altogether. We identify and adopt standard user interface principles and processes. This enables Fylom to rely on metadata to drive the user interface. Our system has two main parts. One is a graphical user interface for the metadata layer. This allows users to create metadata that define the domain they have in mind. The other is a user interface for the user data layer. This is where the user interface uses metadata to create its dialogues at runtime. It means there is zero code generation. Thus the zero code claim.
Can you give us a walkthrough of the system?
Certainly. As I said, the system has two main parts. One is for the metadata layer. The other focuses on the user data layer. In the metadata layer, you create the concepts you see in your business. Then you relate them to each other, and detail the attributes for each of them. For this, we use an entity relationship diagram, with Fylom's own diagram notation. Each diagram covers a domain within your enterprise. Our example is for customer relations. A context menu is available to create new concepts by entering metadata through the UI, or by loading CSV files. Let's look at the metadata for the business type concept. The properties of the concept will influence how the user interface presents the data. Some examples are the standard name, singular or plural, abbreviation, long name, business purpose, default list sequence, and concept type. We can add attributes to concepts. An attribute's properties will also influence the behavior of the user interface. Data type, for instance, will cause the user interface to choose the appropriate input type for this attribute. A date type, for example, uses a calendar widget like this one. When there is a relationship between two concepts, say customer and business type, we create the relationship in the metadata user interface. We then fill in the details for the new relationship. Lookup prompt and list name are two properties for this relationship. Depending on the view perspective, business type will have a list of customers, while customer will have a business type lookup. If the user wants to change the business type, a lookup dialog will pop up. When the user interface encounters this lookup on a customer record, it displays the business type for that customer. Conversely, when the user interface encounters this lookup on the business type record, it will display a list of customers for that business type.
Let's say, I want to add or change a specific record. How do I find it? For example, I need to change the amount for a job done for BC Construction Company on the 28th of June 2022.
This is where we utilize the user data window. Let's open a user data window. To do this, use the diagram's context menu and choose User Data Window. The user data layer will display Fylom's tree grid. The tree grid displays the list of concepts you have defined in the metadata layer. These are the entry points into the database. Click on the record pointer for the customer records and scroll down to BC Construction Company. Now click on the record pointer to open the record and look for jobs for this customer. Click on its record pointer. The system lists all jobs for BC Constructions. Scroll to the required job. Click on its record pointer. Each attribute and its data value are listed for this particular job. Click on Amount and type the new value. When we exit the amount input field, the change will save to the database.
Is it possible to see who changed this amount, and why? I need to follow up on the reason why this amount changed.
With Fylom, the audit trail of data changes is a standard feature. When we change any data on a record, the system keeps track of the changes. This means that all previous values are available for audit purposes. When we double-click on any value to change it, the user interface will pop up a list of reasons to choose from. The system records the reason we choose, along with the new value. To see the change history, click on the pointer for amount. This will display previous changes, showing who made them, when, and the reason for each change.
That is very useful. We can identify where more training is needed. We can also see what other issues we have with data quality. Is there a way to query the data? Let's say, I want to see a list of all construction companies where we have done handover preparation. I would like to see the issues without having to drill down into each customer. Is that possible?
Yes. Fylom has a built-in query tool that is simple to use and requires no coding. Look at a concept model that covers the domain in which you want to query. On each concept, every attribute, lookup, or list has a checkbox. We use this to select items and build a query. The first step is to select one concept as the starting point. Select this concept on the diagram. Then choose Set Starting Point for Query from the context menu. Then we check the attributes we want to see in the query, starting with the selected concept. When you have finished selecting, choose Query User Data on the diagram context menu. The User Data workbench will display the results.
Excellent.
We have not given this query a name yet. You can click on the heading and give this query a name. Fylom will save it in the model where you created it. The query name is then displayed in that model's context menu under User Queries. This enables you to run it again later.
Can I export this to my analysis tool?
Certainly. Choose Export on the context menu of the User Data Workbench. It lets you export to a CSV file, exactly what you see on the tree grid.
Our current system has all our customer details in it, but that's all it does. Our jobs log is on a spreadsheet, and our issues log is a file in my bottom drawer. Fylom will enable us to bring it all together. We can grow the concept model when we're ready to expand further. We won't need a technical person to make changes or add to the system. For instance, every time there's a heading change or new data that needs to go into the database. Do you have a roadmap for your project?
Yes, Fylom is ready to move on to pilot projects. As you can see, we have completed its base user interface components. This facilitates metadata management, data navigation and query. Also the standard add, update, and delete functions for data. Our next steps are 1. To apply security and user permissions. 2. To create or use specific user interface components for typical processes between concept types. For example, transactions, payment allocations, and event scheduling. 3. To use APIs with the concept types, like Google Maps API for geolocation data. 4. To integrate communication with data. For example, the ability to see all emails and messages related to a data point. 5. To create purpose-built user interface components for common concept types, such as person or legal entity. 6. To run pilot projects with interested partners. This will help to drive the development. It will also test for robustness in different domains.
What is the learning curve to use this platform? Do we need much training?
Our training material is not much larger than this presentation. It walks you through every option on each menu, much like the few options we used in this presentation. We want users to be able to work through it in one sitting.
You say you are looking to partner with interested parties. If we get on board with the project, how will it benefit us?
A partnership program is an ideal opportunity for partners to explore alternative ways to software acquisition or development. Fylom in its current state is well placed as a prototyping tool. Partners will have the ability to prototype without getting locked in. If a prototype becomes viable, it may eliminate the need for expensive solutions. It can serve as a stand-in during long drawn-out development projects. The ability to grow organically, as and when ideas emerge, also stands out. You can measure the time of introducing new concepts in minutes, instead of months.